Joining Voices of Wall Street now are two of the most vocal and loyal Tesla mega bulls out there. Ross Gerber, he's the co-founder and CEO at Gerber Kawasaki, and of course, Galileo Russell, founder of HyperChange TV. Great to see both of you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Happy holidays.
It's been a year, an extraordinary one for Tesla specifically. So before we get into the expectations for 2021, let's take a look back at 2020. There have been so many mind-blowing accomplishments for Tesla. Which ones do you feel, we'll start with you, Ross, do you feel really stood out for you for Tesla?
I think the biggest thing that they did this year, which super impressed me, was their ability to meet their delivery targets. I mean, everybody's dealing with coronavirus, and they run a factory in California, which is like super impacted, and they've been able to do this safely. And so the fact that they're actually on track and are going to probably beat their numbers for the year, I think is a tremendous accomplishment and an enormous effort.
Gali?
Yeah, I thought the deliveries was huge. They were able to grow when pretty much everyone else was shrinking, and at the same time maintain that profitability, which was incredible. And then I think we got the FSD beta this year and Battery Day, which are two things that will impact the financials further on, but like key milestones that happened for Tesla's technology that I was really happy with the progress.
Okay, so let's do the flip side now. What was maybe the worst moment?
For Tesla this year?
Yeah.
I don't think there's been one. I mean, you know, compared to all the bad moments we had in previous years, I think we were due with one without bad moments, but I can tell you a lot of bad ones from previous years.
Well, okay, well, let's just stick with 2020. If you can't think of one, Gali, do you have
Yeah,
one?
no, I have one.
Okay.
It was hard to tell all my friends I told you so, because I had so many friends where I just argued with them about Tesla nonstop, and I feel like I didn't even want to go back and be like, dude, like, so that was probably the toughest part.
Yeah, I mean, these short sellers have had to really cover their positions in a big way. And I know in past years, you know, when we've all talked before, really starting with the going private tweet, it seemed like there was a lot of skepticism. You mentioned deliveries, Ross, and I want to go through some of those. I mean, the U.S. auto market really shrank, but Tesla shrank, only about 5% versus 33% for the total auto market. What do you think were the factors that really contributed to Tesla staying above the fray?
Oh, it's online ordering. I mean, Tesla's an online company, so you download an app and you control your car on an app. So when you want to buy a Tesla, you just go onto your phone or computer and just buy the car. And no other car company is set up that way. So that was a huge advantage for Tesla during the pandemic. And on top of the fact that the cost of ownership of a Tesla over time is so much lower than a nice car, that it just makes sense to buy a Tesla now that there's charging stations everywhere. And people during this time, a lot of people are actually going through a hard time. So saving money on your car kind of makes a lot of sense. So I think it's just a practical car, and I think it's very easy to buy.
Gali, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I mean, Tesla launched the Model Y this year, really scaled production of that, and that is set to be their best-selling car ever by units, at least out of their current lineup. And I think that, like, I bought one, Ross got one. It's just a home run product. Like, you can fit all your friends and family, has super long range, has the heat pump, has autopilot. So I just think that was an incredible product that they brought to market this year, and shows how, even despite this whole COVID pandemic, it's still, delivered on all the sales results they wanted.
Right. And I feel that, in the expansion of their gigafactories, I mean, the delivery starting off in January in Shanghai was, ahead of that coronavirus a shutdown. And then you had Austin and Berlin sort of come online. How quickly do you expect those factories to start adding real value? And Gali, we'll start with you first. To their overall production, especially globally. I mean, if you look at Europe, there have been some softer spots in Europe when it comes to demand, given that you got Volkswagen coming online now.
Yeah, so I think the Berlin factory is supposed to start deliveries in 2021, but that'll really be a 2022 story. And I'd say the same thing for Austin. And I'm super pumped about this Austin factory because I think it's going to be like Tesla's crown jewel, like just all of their R&D, 10 or 15 years building factories. Elon's going to be living there. It's going to have the 4680 cell production Cybertruck. I just think that's going to be like the coolest place to work on the planet. I don't know if Ross has any thoughts on that, but I'm pumped. I can't wait to go visit with you, Ross.
I actually 100% agree with that. And also, I look at it differently because, I drive the 5 freeway here in in LA or the 10, and you see semi trucks just lined up with agriculture and goods being shipped back and forth, and you look at the pollution caused. So you're absolutely right. Texas is going to be an enormous business for Tesla as they move into the truck business between pickup trucks and semi trucks. This is an enormous slice of the auto industry, and I think Tesla will dominate it over time. So Austin is a hugely important investment for Tesla.
Well, I think you both bring up a good point when it comes to Austin and maybe testing in a different type of business for them. You know, instead of just straight to consumer, you have a potential enterprise play. You know, I'm thinking about Canoo this year with their last mile delivery vehicle they just launched. What is the biggest challenge for Tesla if they were to try to sell into more of an enterprise play?
I mean, I think the biggest issue is building a sales team to do that. You know, it's a different business than selling direct to the consumer. It does involve relationship management. And I don't think that's a per se hard thing for Tesla to do, but I don't know if they're set up to do that yet. But I'm sure that they'll build that infrastructure over the next year. And I think a lot of companies will come directly to them. So oftentimes Tesla isn't the most organized in the way they do things. So hopefully they're on that, because I think demand's going to be huge.
Right. I mean, in terms of organization, you know, one of the moments when I look back on this year, the surprise announcement of dismantling their entire PR team, and I know that you both have relationships. I mean, you know, a lot of my friends, I mean, they don't have a job anymore because of this move. I want to really ask for your reflections on that. I mean, what do you think went behind when?
Well, I spent a lot of time advising Tesla behind the scenes about their marketing and PR and the way they do things. And I would say that the way Elon does things is not the way I would do them. To that being said, Elon absolutely believes in people like me and Gali, who are really their PR team. I mean, the social media business is amazing for Tesla, and people are passionate, and there's so many people putting out great information about Tesla, while many of the traditional news agencies are putting out crap and continue to do it, which is so biased and clearly just paid for stuff by the oil industry. And I think people, including Tesla, are tired of it. And so their response isn't what I would do, but I totally understand. They're just like, we're done dealing with public relations.
I mean, I don't know that the oil industry is writing checks to a CNBC or the Journal, Ross. I mean, it's
not directly to the people who they put on. It's to the guests. So the guests, there are guests that have fake firms, and they act like that they're working at some Wall Street firm, but really they don't. And they're paid for by the oil industry, and they go on CNBC, like yesterday, spitting out just complete lies. And it just like, we tell them, but nobody wants to look into the backgrounds.
Well, I think you do bring up the point that both you and Gali serve as the antidote in your mind to that. And I wonder, you know, given that you guys are mega bulls, we've seen lots of stories this year about Tesla nares, I think is the case. I mean, how much have you both made this year in the uprise of the stock, you know, up 600, 700 plus %?
Well, I run an investment firm, and so most of the money I manage is for other people. So our firm and our clients have made over $100 million on Tesla this year, and I think it's definitely the greatest trade of my career, but it's definitely, I think, one of the greatest trades in RIA history. So it's been an incredible journey for our clients, and we're super excited that thousands of people have benefited from our advice in owning Tesla. And as well, me personally, I also have done very well with it. So it's been a good year.
Gali?
Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm doing great. And I also wanted to say on the PR thing, I thought that was a genius move. And I think it's like a microcosm of why Tesla is so different and unique and just so authentic as a brand. And that's why they're really connecting with everybody. Like, they don't bullshit.
I don't know if that's genius, Gali.
Well, let me make my case. Like, look at every other car company who's putting ads on my YouTube videos. Well, everyone is making videos about Tesla. Elon tweets directly to the people. Like, yeah, it rubs some people the wrong way sometimes. But overall, Tesla's had an incredible job selling millions of cars, doing tens of billions in revenue without any money in marketing or PR now. So to me, that's the evidence showing that their strategy is incredible. And I think there's no company in the world that is more hyped than Tesla, and they've done it without marketing or PR, and their entire focus of like just the truth, authenticity, only put money into the tech and things that make the product better is like, yeah, there's some pros and cons, like with what Ross is saying, you know, maybe you don't like Elon style here and there, but overall it's been one of the pivotal reasons why Tesla's been so successful.
Gali, are you okay?
I disagree.
What?
Let me just say one thing. I work a lot with the media, and I have a PR team. And I think they provide tremendous value. And I think traditional media and having a strategy for traditional media makes a lot of sense for every business. And so I think it's being narrow-minded. I think what you're saying is true, and he doesn't need to do that. But I think there's a lot of value in using traditional media correctly. And I've done it myself. And so I talk to these people, and there's a lot of people who want to write good things about Tesla, and they have nobody to even call.
Yeah, and I will give you props on that, Ross, because I do remember at Autonomy Day, you were like, basically begging Elon and his team, like, guys, just do an interview, like, be more chill, kind of button up a little bit. And I feel like that did, like, all of us telling them, like, they didn't do PR and marketing, but they did kind of, but
they're going to do
more.
There was a slight
Trust
change,
me,
they'll do
which
more.
I think was really good.
I'm still pushing them to do more because, quite frankly, there are friendly media people that will help them a lot. And I'm a stock owner, and I want my stock to go up. So I think it makes sense to deal with the media. I just think it does.
I mean, it's almost as part of your job now, being people who are researching this every day, and, Gali putting out content as part of your business. So it's almost one and the same when you're a bull, it sounds like. I want to talk about this recent tweet, Ross. Reuters reported that the year 2024 is going to be the year for Apple to start production on their vehicle. You said that's going to be half-assed. Gali, I want to get your take on this too. I mean, Apple is a brand name like no other, right up there, and really maybe even in some ways surpassing that brand name of Tesla. So why do you think that Apple will not succeed in the way that it has dominated the iPhone, the phone market?
Well, first of all, I'm an Apple shareholder, so my criticism of them is mostly because I'm very disappointed that Apple has missed so many opportunities to invest in other companies like Tesla or Netflix over the last 10 years. And instead of try to build these things themselves, and it's ultimately been to their detriment, leading to bigger competitors. And so I saw these misses as huge strategic errors, and they've tried this several times. Now, what I learned at Tesla is building an EV car is super hard. It's like a nightmare. And why anybody would want to get into this business. Tesla, Elon says, I got into the hardest businesses in the world that everybody else has failed at, and I don't know why I did this. And I'm sure there's many nights he doesn't. So what it took Elon to succeed in scaling an EV business is almost impossible for other people to do. And I know that, people will be like, oh, it's Apple. They have all the money in the world. It's not about money. And the way Apple's planning on building this car is with a third-party builder, this company called Magna International, which actually everybody's saying is going to build them EV cars, but they currently only build 2% of the cars they build are EVs. So if you're not all in on building an EV, I just don't think you're going to be able to do it.
Right. I mean, to be clear, Apple obviously has not commented on the story at all, but Reuters, of course, having...
I don't even think it's true. To be honest. I think it's a short seller planted article.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know who their sources are.
Look, the stock's down 60 points. The stock's down 60 points from inclusion. They put out this Apple Car nonsense.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay. Well, Gali, I mean, look, we've been watching this story develop over the years. This is not the first time that we have seen a solid report suggesting that there was a tangible product behind Project Titan. And now there seems to be more details that Apple wants to also start from the ground up with their own battery technology. I mean, into this, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, my take is like, I just don't care. Like, let me in the car, let me drive it. Like, I'm just so tired of these announcements where it's like, we're gonna crush Tesla. We do have Apple didn't even say they have a battery breakthrough. There was, I don't know. I can't take it seriously. And one of the biggest things
Apple said nothing.
Yeah. And so, but like the biggest thing, when I see these announcements, I'm always left thinking, okay, in 2025, what does the auto industry look like? It's autonomy. And so the only way to have a really good autonomous solution is have a flywheel of millions of drivers giving you billions of miles of data to train your neural net to be able to refine your algorithms to achieve a self-driving car. So the only company that has millions of computers on wheels sending two-way data over the air software updates is Tesla. That's why Google's cashing out of Waymo and letting outside people put in capital, because they know, #1 data AI company in the world, that they don't have that data flywheel for Waymo, so they're getting rid of it. So Apple, when I think about any of these new like sort of big announcements from a tech company, it's like, what's their strategy going to be to get a ton of data to make their neural net work? And so for Amazon, it's buy Zoox and get these Zoox things moving around, get the Rivian trucks moving around. So with Apple, I'm like, I don't know, let's get 1 million people in cars and start seeing develop this network before we take it seriously.
So from your perspective, Gali, does it sound like then from these reports that Apple is more or less looking into maybe autonomous platform part of an EV versus a full-on, fully manufactured Apple branded car?
Well, whatever they're doing, I think it has to be autonomous, no matter what. And the other interesting thing is like cell to structure, like what Tesla unveiled at Battery Day. Like you literally have to have your battery as the structure of a car. It's like a 20% energy efficiency boost. They're the only company in the world that's going to do that. It's like what Ross said. It's like Apple's going to outsource their revolutionary battery to a company that didn't even come up with something as dope as Tesla. And they're going to do that in 5 years, and Tesla's doing it in a year. So it's like, you know, you have to have proprietary tech if you're going to compete. And I think that was an interesting point that Ross made.
I mean, if Apple's revolutionizing batteries, they certainly aren't doing it in their iPhone, which is their main product.
Right? My new battery sucks. Like I just got the new Pro Max. It's worse than last year.
I know. And it's like, oh, we're revolutionizing batteries. I'm like, you haven't revolutionized anything. You know, so, yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, let's talk more about Tesla in this context, and before we get off into a tangent with Apple this year, you guys both brought up full self-driving. So one of the big predictions that Elon Musk had presented in the last 12 months is that by the end of this year there would have been about 1 million self-driving Teslas on the road. That obviously has not now come to fruition. Now he's saying that the full self-driving subscription service is coming very early next year. We know that timelines are a bit of a tricky thing for Musk and Tesla. So how much of this do you feel will be accomplished in that timeline? And I already know the answer about the catalyst. I mean, you guys really feel like it would be a huge catalyst, but the timeline thing, I mean, we still haven't seen this come online.
You're absolutely right. Elon gets an F for timelines, but he gets an A for like aggressiveness. And so you get this, plus and minus of Elon is when he tells you a date, that's his goal. That's not actually the firm date, And I think that it's important for investors and Tesla owners to understand that. That being said, when you're building revolutionary technology, there is 100 issues that always comes up, and it is what it is. And so most importantly, when you're dealing with people's safety, is that it works, okay? And we cannot have Teslas running over people. And so I don't look at these delays as anything major, and he's not delaying it by a year. It certainly wasn't the, cyberpunk disaster, So I expect full self-driving to be coming any day, some version of it. And I expect over the next year to see amazing improvements of it.
Gali.
Yeah, and I always try not to think about Elon's comments about what's going to happen. I just look at what has happened, how much progress are we making, nothing else matters, and we're making huge progress. Like the price of FSD started the year at $6,000, now they're charging $10,000 for the package, literally raising prices of a software package, and they dropped the FSD to 500 or 1,000 people, it looks like, the FSD beta. So they actually did, kind of, I don't know, I was really impressed by that progress, and they're kind of already training that. So I expect that beta program to expand early next year. And so this is actually moving much faster than I had previously anticipated, because I'm like, oh yeah, Elon's timelines, it'll be 2025, 2024 before we get robotaxi. But this FSD thing that they're testing, and it actually being out in the wild is a huge step forward.
Yeah, and they're improving it day and night. They're working day and night right now to get this FSD done, and the improvements are being pushed out daily, it feels like. And so, we're extremely bullish. I mean, I think the whole subscription model makes a lot of sense. To amortize that cost over a 3 to 5 year period for new owners makes a lot of sense in taking up the adoption of it. And so we think this is going to be a big driver of business over the next 12 to 18 months.
Sure. And really, I mean, technology aside, right, the margins as well. I mean, you're really putting software.
It's all the margin.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's part of it. Well, let's talk more about the future here, because recently Elon Musk caused a stir on Twitter, as he does, with his Bitcoin-related tweet storm. Should Tesla convert some cash into BTC? What do you guys think, Gali?
I mean, I think it's a really cool idea. Move 1% of your cash to Bitcoin. I had Michael Saylor on my podcast 4 days before, and that's the guy that Elon replied to. And he's kind of a radical, he's moved like probably a ridiculous amount of his company's cash into Bitcoin. I don't know if I think Tesla should do that, but I don't know. I think it should be on the table at Tesla's next meeting of what do we do with 20 billion in fiat? What is our best way to store value? Maybe buying treasuries with all of it isn't the move. We could explore putting a little into Bitcoin. Frankly, I think it might be a little bit too early and a distraction because they're not a payments company.
Right.
But deep down, I do feel like 5 to 10 years from now, cash on the balance sheet will be looked at as an archaic legacy solution. There'll be other technologies that will be the norm of how to store value on your balance sheet. I think Bitcoin will be one of them. And so but Bitcoin's price will be up 20x by the time it becomes the norm. So I'm kind of like telling Tesla, like, damn, I kind of want us to get ahead of the curve on this, but that's the radical millennial shareholder in me. So
yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense, and you're an important shareholder because this is the customer base that I think some investors missed out on understanding the love and the loyalty coming from you guys. Ross, you are soon looking to offer more advice to your clients around crypto and Bitcoin. What's your outlook? Generally, I mean, you're hearing Gali wanting to see more of this on balance sheets. At Jack probably is looking at this. What's your take?
Well, first of all, corporate balance sheets are not going to go to Bitcoin anytime soon because you've got the most conservative people of all time running them. There's no way. They won't even buy stocks, let alone a Bitcoin with their cash. So they put it in treasuries. I think it would be super prudent for people to do that. We looked at it in my company, and it was fairly complex to do with, it wasn't as easy as I'd hoped to buy large amounts of Bitcoin. And I think companies still face that challenge. Now, that being said, I've been contacted by many institutions. We're working right now with one or maybe two to be able to offer Bitcoin to clients, be the first RIA to do this and manage it as part of their portfolios. Because I think what I'm seeing from the institutional side is there's tremendous interest in this, and Bitcoin can only go higher as this continues. So I'm a bull on Bitcoin right now. I've never seen institutional interest in Bitcoin like I'm seeing now, and they're just poking around. And they have very little to offer still. But when you think about companies like Fidelity starting to offer Bitcoin, and then maybe companies like Shopify and Amazon making payments to buy things very easy through Bitcoin, this monetary system could grow very rapidly, very quickly, and be worth, easily over $1 trillion. So, there's a lot of money to be made here.
Yeah, Gali, I mean, you've been a bull on this. You just talked about it a little bit. The future that Ross is painting right now, I mean, it still really is dependent on a large consumer base adopting this. Sure, if an Amazon gets into it, it'll be a big enabler, but there's still a user experience issue. And, when I was speaking to Alexios Ohanian, a while back, he had mentioned this, right? That the biggest hurdle really for adoption is the customer experience, is the user experience. What can be done to make this a more user-friendly type of currency?
I literally just moved some of my fiat into Bitcoin like yesterday or 2 nights ago. And the biggest reason is because I think the UI problem has been solved by the world's best fintech company with the world's best designers moving all their people into Bitcoin. That's Cash App, 33 million accounts plus 80%. They're trying to get everybody to pay in Bitcoin. They're desperate. And so I think Jack Dorsey is a huge fan, and that is the UI. PayPal, that is the UI. So well,
it's also Square, like in the sense you have payments through Square.
Right.
Yeah,
tons of merchants, so they've got the whole system.
So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy once one of the world's largest payment companies, I think, gets on board, which I've seen happen. Bitcoin's moving $18 trillion annual run rate right now, 50 billion plus a day. PayPal moves a trillion, yet they're valued at 300 billion. Bitcoin's only valued at 420, yet they're moving 15 or 20 times more money. So price per dollar moved on the network, Bitcoin is like a 7% to PayPal's market cap. So I'm buying hand over fist because I think Bitcoin's dollar move is going to compound at 100%. PayPal's is 38%. So relative to other payment networks, I think Bitcoin is severely underpriced. And I don't know. I just see, gold's 8 trillion. I think Bitcoin's easily.
Yeah, but there's a discount for a reason, Gali. I mean, the discount has to do with the immaturity of the network and the issues of theft. I've been hacked. I've had my Bitcoin attempted to be stolen many times, and it's a
go
nightmare.
To a shitty neighborhood in any city, you'll get robbed.
No, that's not fair at all.
If you have it at
Coinbase, in a
Coinbase,
shitty neighborhood, and I never got robbed living in West Philadelphia. But that being said, I think that Bitcoin has some inherent issues that the institutions are dealing with insurance, customer service, and ways to protect investors from theft. And that's what will actually legitimize Bitcoin for the consumer, is knowing that when I put 100 grand into it, it won't just disappear on somebody's phone. And trust me, the FBI is going to help you. The police station is going to help you. Your money is gone. If you lose money at PayPal, they'll give you your money back. Okay, it's insured. So I think this is a big thing for consumer adoption, and I think it's going to happen. It's happening.
We should do a separate chat about that. I think, especially when you look at Cash App, Gali, I think to your point, and then the security around it. I mean, these are tied in together, right? It's trust around.
Yeah, but I don't think you actually own the Bitcoin when you buy it through Cash App. When you buy through Cash App, I think you're just getting interest in Cash App's Bitcoin that then you can trade with. But it's not like, it's your Bitcoin, and that's why it's insured and easy to use and transfer.
Is that right, Gali?
I'm not 100% sure about it, how it works.
No, yeah, I'm not actually sure. But I think to Ross's point, I think that's like what he's saying. Like Ross is going to help his clients start buying it. Like these are all problems that are getting solved as people build around the Bitcoin ecosystem. And so that's kind of this slow institutionalization that's been happening will continue to do. And I think that will be the price. But you kind of have to be. It's like the Wild West. Like I give Ross, you kind of got to figure out how to hold your Bitcoin. It's risky. You might lose it. Nobody's going to help you. And that's why it's early and small and risky. But as those problems get solved, more money flows in.
All right, let's swing
it back.
Let's swing it back, because I think we should dedicate something very different to that. I want to swing back to Tesla. How we got onto the Bitcoin track here. Talk a little bit about competition. China has obviously been a big market for automakers for a while now. It's the biggest market now for EVs, obviously, with the same concept. And you have competition now globally. If you want to be there, you've got the wholly owned Shanghai factory, which is great for Tesla, but you've got BYD, you've got these newer players, NIO, XPeng, Arrival, which is backed by Fidelity and BlackRock. They've got plans for 31 plants by 2024. How much are these companies a threat to Tesla?
I kind of look at competition as helping Tesla, because it's really about replacing oil cars, not about EVs cannibalizing each other for the same customer. There are literally, I think, 2 times as many cars sold in China as in the US on an annual basis, like 35 million. And so like 100% has pretty much been oil. So the more competitors drive people to Tesla is because they're not as good. And so even though you can buy an EV, people aspire to own a Tesla. Now, we own a stake in BYD. We've bought, I very much think China is going to be the real competitor to Tesla. If you're looking for a competitor, it's not going to be European or American car companies. It's going to be these Chinese car companies, and some of them are pretty good. So I think it's a win-win, because we're really for advancing sustainable transportation, and that's Tesla's goal. And I think they're accomplishing that goal by building these competitors, but I think all the competitors are well behind Tesla.
So is the goal then not for Tesla to dominate the world global EV market at all, that if China is not on their plate, that's okay?
No. It's the opposite. Tesla wants to be a big player in China, and China, I'm sure, will make sure that it isn't Tesla that's the #1 player in China, but because it's China. But I'm sure that they'll do great business in China and grow like crazy and be an aspirational vehicle. But I think China's going to build great vehicles too, and I think investors should look at China as really where a ton of innovation's happening in EV and in battery technology, where we're investing a lot of money in. And it's unfortunate that's way, but the Trump administration chose to support oil, not EV innovation.
Gali, I'm waiting for you to go to China soon.
Yeah, so I went to China in January or February 2019 with my buddy Julian to go visit all the EV companies. And I think what Ross is I see it playing out as Ross is saying, like Tesla will have a slice of the market, so will Chinese OEMs, and that's who will dominate EVs. And there's a huge pie. Like it's enough for both of those to be a winner. But I'm really like, okay, they're going to compete domestically in China. We started seeing XPeng export to Norway, I believe. And when I saw that news recently, or they're going to, I'm like, whoa, like this is happening way faster than I thought, the actual export of cars. Because what Elon's been saying on the conference call is we want to build cars locally. But the question is, at what point does it get cheap enough and you can guess the inventory to where it makes sense to ship it? Like our iPhones are all built in China. And so I don't know. I think China strategically is making a genius move by saying the propulsion technology of the next century is EVs, not oil. We're going to be a leader in EV technology. We're going to let Tesla build our factory here. We're going to get all our suppliers up and ready. We're going to figure out how to build batteries like them. And then once we figure it out in 5 years, we'll start exporting. But now they're already
and we can
export,
we can track everybody wherever they go. Don't forget that. China's really into tracking people. and the Tesla tracks everything you do everywhere you go. And so China loves this stuff. And so, like,
Yeah, I mean,
I think
you think
Gali's
Elon Musk
100%
would
right.
you think Musk would allow that to happen? I mean,
He's allowing it right now, and Google allows it, and Apple allows it, because you cannot do business in China if you don't follow their rules.
right.
Everybody allows it there.
Right. I guess in some ways, if it was asked of the government, they would have to supply it in that way. It's not like it's just a feed into the government.
No, it's a feed into the government. They could punch up anybody they want any day and any time. China is a controlled state. That's the way. The people are fine with it, though. You have to understand. People in China are fine with it. They have no privacy. You can't even open up a
choice. I don't know that they're fine. I mean, it's a choiceless.
They have a choice. It's called a revolution, but they don't want a revolution. So they're very happy. I think the issue is if you sign up for a video game in China, you have to put in all your information. So it is what it is, and Tesla fits that model perfectly, just like Apple and Google.
Okay, away from the philosophical stuff, I mean, it sounds like both of you are still pretty bullish on the opportunity in China and that it will not be lost to these competitors of Tesla. Last question for the both of you, because we've talked obviously a lot about Tesla, but we did bring up some other companies that, you know, are on your radar. Peloton might be on yours. Ross, Gali, I'm curious to know what's on your radar. So for 2021, what have you got your eye on, Gali?
There's one company I can't say, but the SpaceX. If I could buy stock, and that was the biggest check I ever wrote, was into SpaceX 5 or 6 months ago. And if I wish I could put every single cent I had into SpaceX, because I think they're going to be, that's my favorite thing right now.
Okay, Ross.
Well, that's not fair, Gali. People can't buy SpaceX very easily.
Gali, give me another one, because you gave me two.
Come on, buddy. You've got some good picks. Throw some out there, buddy.
Okay, so I think Square is amazing, even though it's at 52 weeks high. Like, I think that's Cash App is going to justify the whole value of the business and more. Jack is an incredible leader. I'm a huge fan of Peloton. I sold my Peloton stock, which it's killing me, but I love Peloton. I love Spotify. I think what they're doing in the music industry. So those are my three kind of big tech, large caps that I'm like, I see these really crushing it.
Okay. Ross?
You know, we're really bullish on the things that used to be illegal that are now legal. That includes cannabis and online gambling. So these are two areas where we're seeing state after state legalize and companies starting new industries in these states. So we're super bullish on especially cannabis because the valuations are very reasonable here in the US. And then, of course, online gambling and casinos, which we think are a recovery play. So 2021, I think, is going to actually be a pretty good year for stocks by the end of the year. And there's great opportunity as the Biden administration builds out a more legal framework for these two industries.
All right. That sounds great. Ross, Galileo, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us before the holidays. Hope you have a great one. That's Ross Gerber, co-founder and CEO of Gerber Kawasaki, and Galileo Russell, founder of HyperChange TV. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. Awesome.